Welcome to Ice Hockey UK TV in association with McDonald's on a glorious first full day for GB in Zagreb. The weather is wonderful. We're sandwiched here in a square between the arena and the hotel where all the teams and all the officials, they're staying in this one. It's at least 19 stories high. I'm on the 17th floor, the Hotel Panorama. What a dominating structure. And then just a few meters on this far side, it's just a little sprint away. It is the Dom Sportova Arena, where all the games will be held. GB arrived here on Thursday. They left the Skydome very early, made the trip to Heathrow. Brilliant check-in, easily done. And then the short ride from the airport to the rink first of all, and then to the hotel where GB got settled. They're going to have their first practice very soon indeed, and we're going to look ahead to the tournament with all sorts of people. So let's take a look inside. Dom Sportova Arena. It holds 6,000 people. It'll be full on the first night when GB play Croatia on Sunday. Just taking a look at these walls, you can see the winning teams, you can see the full building, pictures from the 70s, pictures from the 80s of famous Zagreb teams. There's a real history about this building. It's a great building, it's a great feel, and we've only seen it empty so far, but it really has a grand old feel about it, and everyone around here is talking about the hockey and what they have to come. GB then, of course, getting ready for their first training session in Zagreb, in Croatia. Certainly is a real close setup down here. Just come on through and you'll see already equipment manager Taffy hard at work. The boys will be down here shortly, and Taffy's hard at work here down in the corridor. A couple of teams up down this corridor I noticed as well. Ukraine just a bit further along. And then if you just come inside here and into the dressing room, you can see Steve Small as well. And the boys will then come into this room that's been perfectly laid out by the two guys, Smallsy and Taffy. They were here late into the night and early this morning. This is a scene that will greet them as they come in for their first practice in Zagreb. And we have caught up with a number of players and coaching staff. And let's first have a word with the assistant coach, Chuck Weber. Chuck, your first few days now here, into second day really in Croatia. Just your initial thoughts of the setup here.
You know, it's a great setup for a world championship, and I think the boys are really just happy to finally be here. Now knowing it's just right around the corner, and the guys are there's a lot of expectations and anticipation for this championships.
Just want to kind of delve into, first of all, before we touch on this tournament, but you really, when you got that call from Pete to ask you to come and join the national team, what were your thoughts?
Well, I was excited. Pete and Andy approached me, and kind of seeing about a role here, and I told them I wanted to make sure that it was the proper fit, and Pete and I sat down and talked about a lot of different things, and it seemed to be a no-brainer, and we believe in a lot of the same things, and we think we can work well off each other with Tommy to create an exceptional staff here.
You've been coach at many levels, top levels even. How different is it from just your everyday coaching of a hockey team to suddenly come into a tournament? What are the differences between the two?
Well, it's just getting all the boys together, and kind of trying to get some habits from their old systems and things like that. And now, it's starting a new season. We've taken the mantra with GB. This is a new season. It's not just the end of an old season. And so that's been a big message to the guys. And it's just exciting because the spirit of the boys, the national pride that these guys have in representing GB is fantastic, and for me it's been refreshing that way. And the guys have welcomed me with open arms, as I'm the one that sounds a little funny within the room and stuff like that. But you know what, that they want to get better every day, and as a coach that's all you can ask for, with the players that way.
They talk about that pride. Whenever I interview them, they bring that up a lot, and you've touched on it there. Is it something then that's really evident?
It is. The biggest thing for me once I started with this group was the spirit. There's a lot of talent in that room, but I think the spirit is what pushes them above and beyond. And from my standpoint as an outsider coming in for the first time, that was the big thing for me that really stood out. And I think Pete and Tommy and Andy and everybody else, it was kind of that reassuring that, yep, even an outsider sees what this team is capable of.
It's a cliche, but you talk about games, and you hear it from coaches and players all the time. You take one game at a time. You've got 5 in 7 days. Surely you've got to be looking at other games in the future, or are you really taking one game at a time?
Well, as coaches, you always have to look ahead. We want the players to stay in the moment, but as coaches, you always have to manage the big picture. So, we're going to do all our prep work on all 5 teams. The boys will know what each team's tendencies are and will be prepared. And, we want the boys, not even just from a game standpoint, it's the, shift by shift, period by period, staying in the moment. And if we can do that, we think that'll allow us to be successful.
I heard on the bus you were talking a bit about Zagreb. You spent some time here. What can GB expect from Croatia, from the team, from the fans in the building on first night?
Well, the first night it's going to be crazy. It's going to be loud. They're going to have their drums out, waving their flags, and but it's going to be a fun environment, kind of coming in and almost being the villains a little bit against their home national team. And but I think our group was going to relish that. I think the biggest thing for us, we got out to a fast start, and we can quiet their fans. If we can quiet their fans by coming out hard, keeping them on their heels, it's going to allow us to really get them, on our side as the tournament goes on.
I asked Pete this question the other day. I said, what have you got to do well in the tournament? And he said, we got to win. But, and that's so correct. But what are kind of the key areas? What are the sort of things that if you don't do well, you won't succeed? Which things are you going to have to really be at the top of your game?
Well, I think we're going to, again, staying in the moment, with shift in and shift out, I think we're going to have to manage the puck. Special teams are always big in this short tournament. You have to stay out of the box. You don't want to give teams numerous opportunities. You don't want to give two-man advantages up, and you have to capitalize on your chances. You can get off to a fast start, get a team on their heels, and we just want to be playing good hockey right off the start. And like I said, I think the practices we've had have been fantastic. All our preparation is coming together well, and we're going to be peaking come Sunday.
Thanks, Chuck. That's Chuck Webber, the assistant coach of Great Britain. Now, one man who's on his way to the tournament, he's actually been in Cortina, where GB played the Olympic pre-qualifiers a few weeks ago. It's really bizarre because there's no snow. And that's Seth Bennett, who's going to commentate on the games for BBC Radio. So have a look at Seth's preview and have a look back if you want and compare the two for when there was snow and then there's no snow. It's quite remarkable. It looks a totally different place. But this is Seth Bennett's preview of the tournament.
So my preview for the World Championship starts here in Cortina. Just behind me is where Great Britain played in their Olympic qualifiers. 2 wins and 1 defeat. The question is, though, how much better can they be with a full-strength squad for this tournament in Croatia? So close 12 months ago, but can they go one better? Arguably, Pete Russell has the best Great Britain squad to choose from. No major injury worries for him. And if Ben Bounds has a good tournament, he'll be ably supported by the very experienced Stevie Lyle, then Great Britain have every chance of fighting it out for that gold medal once again. Who's going to be the big opponents? Well, you've got to say that Ukraine, having been relegated last time round, are going to provide a real test. But also, Croatia, as hosts, gave GB a real run for their money, and had it not been for 2 late Mark Richardson goals, one just before the end of normal time and 1 in overtime, then you got to think that they could have possibly had a better tournament. It's going to be intriguing to see how Great Britain do, and you'll be able to follow every game live on the BBC.
Now let's walk inside the Dom Sportova Arena, and GB have just been undertaking their first training session here in Croatia. And let's take a look on the GB bench, and there's some very interesting things that we're first going to notice. Just come on here, Dave, and take a look at the ice. They've just turned the lights out, actually. I think they want GB off the ice, but the neutral zone, it's tiny, and the offensive zones, they're huge. Matthew Myers has just been on the session. What about your thoughts on that? It is quite remarkable, the sizes of the zones.
Yeah, we were told before we came that the neutral zone was quite small. Standing out there with the guys, it does seem a bit tight out there, and the end zones are big. I don't know if they're any bigger really than, maybe they are a bit bigger than what we play on at home, especially in Nottingham. We have the extended zones. But it makes for a lot of offense, so let's hope we can bring some.
Will you have to adapt the kind of breakouts and all your kind of work there? Will there be much different because there's a bit of difference in size?
I don't think the breakout will be affected much. Maybe the neutral zone regroup will be affected. You'll have to work harder to get to the neutral zone when the puck comes out of the offensive zone, so you have to work your way back up the ice a bit more. But maybe that'll be a good thing, make us work a little bit harder to get on the puck and get back going offensively.
What about the ice? Your first chance to really get to grips with it. How's the ice feel?
A bit snowy now. When we first got out here, it felt like it was cracking a little bit underfoot. But I'm such a terrible skater that the ice doesn't really affect me. So
you're better than me, mate.
Yeah, well, if anybody's seen this show last year, everybody would probably be better than you, Chris.
But being serious about it, when you come and you obviously have different types of ice. Does it take time for guys to adapt with what ice they're going to get used to over the course of a tournament?
Over the tournament, I think this tournament we're good because we're here a couple of days early, so we're going to get a lot of time to practice skate on it before we play our first game. So that's a huge benefit. Going from rink to rink when you're playing domestically, you can go from really good ice one night to terrible ice the next night, and you never really know what's happening. And it makes it more difficult. Always in these tournaments, the ice is generally pretty good, so that helps the skilled guys make plays. And it makes for exciting hockey.
For a real novice like me, just explain, what does bad ice do? If you've got bad ice, is it harder to skate, harder on your legs?
Yeah, I mean, it's harder to skate. If it's softer, you feel like you're digging in a bit more. You don't glide through the ice as much. In terms of it being a bit bumpy and bobbly, that makes passing harder, handling passes harder, and it doesn't make for as crisp, clean, nice looking hockey. For me, when I go to the front of the net, it doesn't really matter what type of ice it is, as long as the puck gets there. I'm just trying to whack it in. But like I say, these tournaments tend to have pretty good ice, and it makes for good, fast hockey.
Just on the facilities as a whole, we've only been here 24 hours, but it's a nice hotel. It seems a nice city. That the facilities in the room and surrounding areas seem quite good. All those things seem to be ticking the boxes, don't they?
Yeah, we got told that Zagreb's a great city. Some of the boys have been here a long time ago, 13 years ago, so they kind of knew what I was about. I played with a guy in Nottingham this year who played in Zagreb, played for Croatia, and said it's a great place to come. So yeah, we're looking forward to getting started with the tournament, having a little walk around the city and exploring, and hopefully coming away with a gold medal.
Well, the lights are getting dimmed here. I think they want us off the ice. Thanks, Matthew.
No problem, Chris.
Well, Davy Phillips, your first training session is over in Zagreb. Tell me how you found it.
It was good. It's nice to get here a few days earlier, get used to the ice conditions out there and the size of the ice, because it's always a little bit different dimensions in these European rinks and different to what we're used to back in the UK. So it was good to get a feel of it, and boys get settled into the hotel, into the locker room and headed to the games.
You make a good point there, actually, because often teams arrive on the arrival day, the Saturday, as this is, the day before the first game, or maybe the Friday. But what GB have done here is they've got in on the Thursday, got settled last night, and everyone had some downtime before hitting the ground running with 2 sessions today. And I think that's quite important, don't you?
Yeah. Previous years, sometimes it didn't work out with flights. Sometimes the countries you go to, you can't come in the day before or the day previous to that. So it's worked out nicely, and something that we've definitely got to use to our advantage.
And how did you find the almost week-long camp, just a bit more in Coventry with the Poland games sandwiched in between? How much of a benefit do you think that's been?
It's been great. We've had a real good week. The 2 games couldn't have gone any better, really. I know the one we lost in overtime, but for preparation-wise, there was 2 tough, physical but fast games as well. That's coming into these tournaments. I'd say the hockey is a little bit faster than what the Elite League is. So to have 2 high-paced games like that, getting to roll 4 lines is exactly what we needed. And then the on-ice sessions we've been on twice every day as well, which is tough come the end of the season. Guys don't need to get in any better shape fitness-wise, but the 2 sessions a day we get to work on what we need to do as a team and our systems and our special teams, whatnot. So yeah, we've took huge strides in that last week, and then you can see just the practice alone today how much we've come along since day 1 last week.
You've had 2 sessions today, as you say, for almost a couple of weeks now, give or take, like game day and then maybe a couple of days off. Is it tiring on the body, but is at the same time, is that what you're saying is preparing you for this busy tournament?
It is a little bit more tiring because I think guys are just used to the more of the one-a-days, but guys know that we want to do it because we want to get better as a team. So to be honest, it just goes straight to the back of mind. You don't think about being tired, you just think about what we're getting out of it as a team. And guys look forward to turning up to the rink because they know we're making progress.
I think it was Ashley Tate who mentioned in an interview last night that you guys play quite intense in practice, and sometimes practices can be quite downbeat, can't they? But you guys keep that intensity up. I guess that's important as well.
That's one good thing this team has. We've got real good team spirit and good competition and good camaraderie. So every time we're on the ice, we enjoy ourselves, but we're also working hard and we're going fast paced, high tempo with a smile on our faces. So that's exactly what you want.
How much are you looking forward to that first game against Croatia? This rink sounds like, and just looking around with the atmospherics, it could be a loud rink with the noisy GB Barmy Army, with the noisy Croatian fans. I think Sunday is going to be pretty special.
Yeah, I'm sure playing the host nation, every time you play the host nation, there's always a good crowd there as well, but we'll be the next best travel team, apart from Croatia, obviously, that with them being the home team. So it's always good to have our support as well, that we know we're behind them, and it will be get thrown right in there as well. First game against the Croatians, it'll be a tough game, and we've had some good battles over in recent years, but we're prepared and we know what to expect and what we're getting ourselves into. So we're definitely not going to be. We're going to be ready for them.
Can't the fans lift you? Because I noticed it particularly in Netherlands last year. They didn't stop singing. There was about 200 of them, and they didn't shut up. And you came from behind a lot last year. Is that important? Their noise.
It's great. It's like cliche, but it's like a home game. Even in the Olympic qualifiers in Italy, we was even playing Italy, and it still felt like a home game. All our games. I know there was pretty much the GB fans was the only people in the building, but when they're the only ones singing, it still feels like a home game, and it does push it. It's great.
So a good first training session for Great Britain here in Zagreb, and isn't the weather wonderful? I'm now down to my t-shirt. I'm thinking about putting my shorts on, but I'm not sure the people of Zagreb are quite ready for that yet. And talking of ready, GB are getting ready for that first game against Croatia. 7 p.m. in the UK, and it is 8 p.m. local time here in Zagreb. There's so many ways you can follow the game, not least on GB Twitter and Facebook and Instagram. Then, of course, on the Ice Hockey UK website and the pieces on Ice Hockey UK TV. But we've got some big name broadcasters with us as well. Seth Bennett from the BBC, all the games on the BBC Sport website, and some of them too on BBC Radio 5 Live Sports Extra. And then from Premier Sports, the former Great Britain player Paul Adey is joining Aaron Murphy for play-by-play commentary there. All the games on Premier Sports. So all the bases are covered. It's set up to be a fantastic tournament, and we will bring you all the news and the views from the camp as the week goes on. But that's it for now. Thanks for joining us on Ice Hockey UK TV in association with McDonald's.